Right.
Great, welcome everybody. Well, I hope you are having a great day. My name is Sinandu. Some of you might have already known me from previous events. Well, I lead the outreach program in the Department of Physics and Astronomy at UCR. And I also have a professional background in astronomy. So I do astronomy for life, but I enjoy more talking about astronomy to you all. So welcome today, and I am very excited about today's activity. So next, I will ask all the other instructors to introduce themselves. Next is Evan.
All right. Hello. My name is Evan Michael Coulon. Great to see so many recognizable faces, as well as some faces that I've seen from other events. But just in case you don't know me, I'm a former bioengineering grad student, but I am an active member of the astronomy club at UCR. So I'll be happy to share with you all the things that we have for you today. All right, and I'll give it to my next co-host, Franco.
Hi, everybody. My name is Franco Iglesias. I'm a graduate student at CSULA, and I graduated from UCR a year ago. I do my master's in physics, and hopefully you guys enjoy the astronomy that we have for today.
What's up, guys? My name is Brandon. I'm an undergraduate student at UCR. I study electrical engineering, and I'm also going to be one of the co-presidents of the astronomy club at UCR.
Great, thank you, everybody. And now I will get the spotlight back again. Cool. All right, so now, well, we are actually going into the activity that we will be doing today, which is exploring the summer sky. I'm not sure whether all of you see my video being a little bit lagged, but it might be possible. So maybe during my presentation, I'll just turn off my video so you can see my screen better. But later, once I'm done with my presentation, I will turn my camera back on. So for our first part of the activity, we're actually going, virtually outside to explore the summer sky that you typically would see in Riverside. And especially if you step out later today, you can see exactly what will be presented on this software. So let's now step outside. Can everyone see my screen?
It's currently still loading on our end, right over
Still
here.
loading, and you're also frozen on the camera as well.
Okay, so I am going to stop my video here.
There we go. Oh, it just popped up for you.
Okay, so now you can see the screen?
We can see the screen, yes. The video is still a little bit laggy, so you may want to turn it off.
Okay, I'm trying to turn it off.
No worries.
It's just not off. Okay, so well, this is the summer sky that we would typically see in Riverside. I already put the location as where we are right now, assuming that you are all local. So N means that you are facing north in the sky. Okay, so now I wanted everybody just to see this part of the sky a little bit, and then tell me whether there are any stars or constellations that you recognize. Anything, and feel free to directly unmute yourself. And for our YouTube audience, feel free to put it in the chat. Anything that you recognize.
Oh, we have Ella raised her hand. Go ahead and speak up.
So I think I see one of the dippers. It's kind of like sideways, and like if you go to Arcturus and go below it, it's kind of like beside if like you that. I don't know that.
Like right here?
Today, but So like, I'm trying to point with my mouse, even though you can't see my screen.
Can you see my mouse? Is this what you're pointing at?
Yes. Yeah.
Great. That's a good one, Ella. What do you say that this is? What constellation do you think this is?
I think that's the Big Dipper.
Yeah. Anyone else have heard of the name of the Big Dipper? Yeah. Yeah. So the Big Dipper, that's a really great one, Ella. And now I am going to turn the constellation on, which you can see. Well, the Big Dipper is actually part of the constellation of Ursa Major. So the Ursa Major, all of it is a constellation, but the Big Dipper is actually an asterism, which is basically just part of a constellation that we typically say. It's not a constellation by itself. And some of you might also recognize this constellation, which is Ursa Minor. So the end of this Little Dipper is what we call the North Star or Polaris. So North Star is almost not moving in the sky, no matter how the other stars appear to be rotating in the sky. And Polaris is also pretty easy to spot. So remember, we have the Big Dipper here, right? If we extend the last two stars of the Big Dipper, like on the edge, and then extend it out to about 5 times, then that's where you see the Polaris. So see, this is now actually 9 p.m. tonight in Riverside. And if you have a chance to go outside, even not tonight, any of the days, try to find the Big Dipper and Polaris. It should be pretty easy to see. And one very prominent signature I would like to point you to for summer sky is what's called the summer triangle. Let me turn this off. So the summer triangle, you can see that there are 3 very bright stars that's sort of just like directly sitting over the Milky Way. So this is the Milky Way. It's a very fuzzy band. So it's made of 3 bright stars in 3 constellations. So they're from Lyra, Cygnus, which is a swan, and Aquila, which is an eagle. So later, Evan will actually be telling us a very interesting story behind this summer triangle. But again, when you're facing north and you try to look up into the sky, it should be pretty close to, directly over your head. These are 3 stars, okay? And one other thing I wanted to point you to is this W-shaped constellation. So anyone knows what that is called? No? That's okay. I mean, I didn't know what it was called until I was in college. So this is called Cassiopeia. It's a W shape, or sometimes you could see it as an M. It's going to be pretty close to the horizon, and it's also a constellation very easy to spot. Okay, and finally, we are now moving to the south side of the sky. So now, turning back, we are facing south, right? And one very exciting constellation, one of my favorites is this one, Scorpius. So Scorpius is actually a scorpion. If I actually turn on its image, you'll see it. This is a scorpion, right? So Scorpius is very prominent in terms of, having these 3, almost like claws, and also having a red star, which is almost at the center of the scorpion. So we always treat the red star as the beating heart of the scorpion. So later we will also talk more about this constellation in our presentation. Okay, so that was a very quick tour of the summer sky and some of the constellations that we will be doing. And now what I wanted everyone to do is to have your worksheet ready. So all of you are already shared with 4 different kinds of worksheets, right? And I will also share that so you can see what they all look like. Yay, I see some of you are already getting that out. Nice. Cool. So let's see, where is it?
All right, starting to see worksheets. All right.
Awesome. Yes. Okay. So I also have my worksheets here. It's showing up. Yeah. So in this activity, you actually have 4 different options. We're not going to do all of them today during the session. You can pick one of your favorite to do, and later you can do the remaining 3 on your own. Okay. So for example, I am going to just pick like one pattern that I'm really interested in. And you can see that there are actually bigger dots and smaller dots, right? So this is actually a pattern. Just imagine that you are actually facing or looking at some stars in the sky. So the bigger dots are the brighter stars that are very easy to spot. And the smaller dots are, much fainter stars. You could still see, but you would have to take a little bit energy to actually realize that they're there. So what I want you to do in this activity is actually to connect the dots in whichever way you want. Create a pattern, and that is going to be your own constellation. And when you're doing that, you are going to try to at least use all the big dots here, because they are the brightest stars that it's the easiest to see. And also try to include as many small dots as you can. Okay. And once you create your own constellations, just, by connecting the dots in whichever way you would like, you can also color them and think about, what story or what scene your constellation is describing. You can either just write one sentence or keep that in mind later for sharing, and also name your constellation. Okay. So we are now going to do this activity for about 10 minutes. And after that, I will maybe ask someone to share their drawing.
I believe you have some questions as well.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah. What questions do we have?
Ella, you can go ahead and ask a question.
Why are they literally, I'm pretty sure all of these are actual constellations.
The real
Yes.
question is which one and which ones and what's the story behind them as well.
This one's an actual constellation?
Yes. Well, okay.
We just viewed it.
You'd have to draw it for us.
Yeah, I mean, constellation is a pretty, arbitrary concept. So you could say, they're all constellations, but they don't have to be. So
yeah, but I'm going to try and do everything because I am going to do multiple, don't worry. I'm going to do everything match what constellations they actually are. I'm not sure if this one's an actual one because basically just looks like stars.
Well, some of the dots or patterns are specifically made harder for you to recognize what Western constellations they belong to or they correspond to. So just use your creativity. There's no right answer that you're trying to get. It's whichever way you want your constellation to be, that is the best way.
Yeah, later you guys will see how all the different constellations from each different culture are radically different because people from different culture can have different ideas. They can see different things.
Totally. And Brendan, do we have any questions or comments from YouTube?
Oh, Brendan, I think you're muted. Oh, there you go.
We are good so far.
Okay, sounds good.
Oh, 2 participants have raised their hands. Ella and Alicia. Let's go ahead and give Alicia a chance to go ahead and ask a question. What's your question?
Alicia, you're muted.
By the way, my original name is Orion, but
Oh, okay.
but the thing says Alicia because I'm using my mom's computer.
No
Okay.
worries. No worries.
No worries.
And how did a meteor crash onto Earth? I mean, onto Mars.
How did a meteor crash onto Mars?
Yes.
Did you
Okay.
recently hear of something crashing? Is that where you saw it?
It's because I was wondering, like, there was crates in Mars,
Mhm.
and Mars is the fifth planet, and we're the fourth planet, and so one of them must have bounced off. Some of the meteors must have bounced off and headed straight toward Earth.
So you're
and-
not wrong to say that some impacts share different bodies in the solar system. For example, some meteors that go past Mars can either hit Earth or the other way around as well. And just to correct you on one little part, Earth is actually the third planet from the sun. It goes Mercury, Venus, and then Earth. And then Mars is which one?
Fourth?
That's right. You got it. You nailed it.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a good question, buddy. Yeah, Mars has craters. So does Earth too, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And but I'm wondering if those craters are actually long gone by now because it's been like 2 million years.
There's some craters are really old, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
Well,
still see some of them. If you look with a telescope, and if it's a really good telescope, you'll notice that some of the darker spots are basins. That's where old oceans used to be. And then you have other craters where you can see the circular part where the meteor crashed, right?
Mhm.
You can see some of them. In
Yeah.
fact, I think Perseverance, our more recent rover, has taken some great pictures. You should look at them online and look at the pictures that Perseverance has taken.
Okay.
Good question. And then Ella, I think you had a question as well.
Mine was already answered.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad I was able to answer it for you. But yeah, everyone, feel free to ask questions while you're doing the activity. This is supposed to be super fun and super engaging.
Great. And how are we doing in terms of drawing? So does everyone already have something connected? Are you just at the coloring step now?
Has anyone tried the fourth one?
That's a very complicated one.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone want to give a guess to what some of them might be? Some of them are easy, some of them are hard. Can you tell which ones are which?
All right. All right.
And if you guys want to say something, you can just go ahead and unmute yourselves and just say it right at us. You guys don't have to wait to hold your hands if you guys are, really eager to ask something. Oh, here's a question for you guys. Who here is using a colored marker and who here is using colored pencils? Or who here just has a regular pencil or a pen?
All right.
Oh,
Right.
we have one marker over there at the I see a marker. Oh, we have some pencils over there from Jathan. I see it.
All right.
Pencil from Talon. Nice.
All right.
Marker from Caleb. Markers. So far, I think markers are winning it.
Yeah, scissors. All right. Good job, Brandon. Yeah.
No, don't use scissors to draw. You won't get very far.
Yeah, cut the dots. Oh, sure.
Well, it looks like everyone is pretty much done or almost done with drawing. So now let's have everyone share. Anyone wants to, simply just put your drawing like in front of the camera so we could see.
Gallery.
Kinds of different shapes. All right. Let's see.
Let's see,
Okay.
the first one I can catch is Rambo's. I see on the left side, I see some, looks like a plane a little bit. Is that what you tried to draw? Has like wings. Oh, what'd you try to draw then? Go ahead.
A bow and arrow.
Ah, a bow and arrow. That's
That's
pretty
a
good.
good one.
All right. Good. All right. Oh,
I just saw
I saw.
Athena's drop.
Yeah, Athena's. Yeah. What is that? What is that, Athena?
It's a long neck badger with a turtle shell on its back.
Oh,
Ooh.
I thought that was a camel. Actually.
Go guys, shows you up. We'll go one by one. If everyone
All right,
shows up their drawings.
I thought that was a camel too. And for everybody on YouTube, you can also put your constellation name or, one or two sentences of the story behind it in the live chat. So we can also share with the group.
Right.
So
I see Caleb's up there as well. Caleb, would you like to describe that one?
Okay.
There you go. We can hear you.
Well, it's a W. If you can tilt the paper, it'll look like a W.
Good.
The name
All
is
right.
Tilted W.
That's pretty good.
All right. All right. Perfect. All right. Jathan, Karina, you like to share your drawings? Oh, okay.
Oh, there we go.
Oh man.
Oh, you guys gotta put it closer. It's hard to see the lines. Oh, not too close. There we go. Oh, I see it. Oh, so what is it?
It's supposed to look like lightning. I don't know really.
Okay.
I see it now.
I started to see your lines. All right. Perfect.
Mhm.
All right. Did you guys draw the same picture, or did you happen to have two different ones?
Two different ones.
Two different ones.
It's
What's
like
that
a
one?
dance.
Oh, it's a little dinosaur.
yeah, I think Ella did a little dinosaur, right?
I think so. Yeah. I think.
So it's a lizard thing. I just decided to make a lizard because it kind of looks like a lizard, and give it just a story. Its name is literally Lizard, as you can see.
Well, a lizard.
Yes.
All right. All right.
Well, that's a great drawing.
Lizard.
Perfect.
Thanks.
I think Orion, right? You have a question, buddy? Go ahead.
Oh yeah.
I don't have the worksheet.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh.
so I can ask your parents. So they should have already got it.
Yeah. Mom's trying to look for it. My mom's
Oh.
trying to look for it.
Okay, yeah. Well, you can always do this activity afterwards. It's still very fun, and there's like no correct answer that you need to worry about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll start to see why. All right.
We'll probably have like one or two more. So Asher is sharing. Wow, Asher, do you want to tell us a little bit about your constellation?
My constellation is named Excess, or you could also call it XX.
I see. Would you like to go ahead and show it up? We can't see it.
I think we saw
It's a giant,
Oh, now I see why you call
giant
it that.
X. All right.
Wow.
and the story is the happy living boy is meeting a witch that is secretly preparing to turn him into an X. And once that happens, the witch throws the boy that turned into an X into space, making this constellation.
Wow. Look at that. And a story to go along with it.
All right. And trust me, some of the stories that we'll be seeing later are just as wild as that as well.
Mhm.
So, we're all right. All right.
Brandon, you have a question?
Oh, I was actually clapping. That was the clap.
Oh, that was the clap button. I would
But,
clap as well. That
all
was
right,
a
all
good
right.
clap.
Then I think I can bring some stuff up from the YouTube audience here.
Go ahead.
some of the things that people created on their worksheets were a bird and a butterfly. And going way back to the question of what they were using, some people are using pencils, and one person was using a color.
A color? Just a color?
Just a color.
Just a color. Wow, that is impressive.
I personally like blue for my purposes.
They're using
so.
light itself. Manifest it. That's awesome.
Perfect. All right. All right. Last question. Did anyone try number 4?
Oh, that's right. Did anyone try number 4?
No. Okay. Yeah. Asher's vehemently says no. But yeah.
Well,
all right.
I believe that Debbie on YouTube actually tried number 4, if I understand correctly, and you know, she thinks it's a butterfly.
Butterfly.
Oh.
Okay.
Huh.
Yeah, it's going to be a very complicated and beautiful, colorful butterfly.
Oh, man, I'd like to see that. I wish I was able to see that. I wonder how you can see a butterfly from that. All right.
So
Perfect.
now I will turn it to Evan to tell us a little bit more about how other people, different ethnic groups have seen the summer, well, not only the summer sky, but just the sky in different perspectives. So Evan.
Perfect. All right. All right. Good morning. Good morning. So some of you might have come late. My name is Evan. Again, I'm a graduate student in bioengineering. But what we'll be looking at today is some of the constellations that some of you have actually drawn already. So I remember from Asher, as well as I forgot who did the bow and arrow. I'm so sorry. But page 3 was actually Cygnus. And so in the constellation in the sky that we do in the western sky, we consider that constellation as the swan, the Cygnus Swan. And then as part of this as well, we can see Lyra. So, you know, Lyra is in the sky, as well as Aquila, which is the eagle. Now, these are just 3 constellations in this sky. And if you look towards the eastern sky, that's where you can find it, and you look straight up. But if you take a look at each of these constellations, you can see how there is a star in each of them that's at least huge lit up. One of them is Vega, one of them is Altair, and one of them is Deneb. Now, in the western sky, this is what we see, you know, 2 birds and a musical instrument. But if we decide to take a look at some of the other constellations from other cultures, such as if we take a look at the Chinese constellations through here, we're still looking at the same part of the sky, but they draw their constellations a bit differently. So what used to be Vega is now what we call the weaving girl. What's down over here is the drum at the river, but in this case, we'll call it like a cow herd. So like a bunch of cows put into one place because of all of these different shapes that we see. And then we have this place right here called the Celestial Ford, which you can consider as a bridge, right? You're crossing a river, you're fording a river. Now, there's a story that goes along with this. There are these 3 stars that Gina mentioned earlier. Now, the story is that the weaving girl and this right over here, this cowherd, or there's a guy, a rancher, fell in love together here on Earth. But because the weaving girl was like the niece of one of the Jade Emperor, and again, this is in Chinese culture, he didn't want these 2 to be together because one was sort of like a god, the other one wasn't. So he threw both of them up into the heavens and separated them with this river, which we can see goes across the sky right through here. Going back over here. Now, these 2 were star-crossed lovers. They really loved each other so much, and they wailed every single night. They screamed for each other because they were so sad that they were separated by this river. They screamed so much, in fact, that the magpies, or like birds, felt so sorry for them that they ended up building a bridge over this river, the Magpie Bridge. And so on the lunar 7th month and the 7th day, which is usually August 19th, they celebrate a festival where these 2 stars will meet together here on this bridge across the Milky Way. And in the Chinese festival, it's called Qiji, but in Japanese culture, it would be called the Tanabata Festival. And this festival around August 19th would be the East Asian Valentine's Day, because that's when these 2 lovers will finally get to meet over this bridge. All right. Yeah, perfect. Okay. All right, so that is the different ways of how we can see the summer triangle in a different culture as well. Now let's take a look back. If we go back to the western sky, so we're going to be going back out. This is the east where the summer triangle is, and we decide to go a little bit closer over here to the south. Now, right over here is where we can see the brightest part of the Milky Way. But what I want to focus on for now is this constellation of Scorpius. So if you in Riverside, take a look, towards the freeway or something like that, you'll start to see this scorpion shape that shows up. And so the way that it's drawn, at least here, is you can start to see two pincers, right? So these are like two sticks, and then it curls all the way down to make this little curve right over here. And so in the western sky, they consider this a scorpion, right? Two pincers, this long curved tail, and right next to it, it's also next to, say, the Milky Way. Now, that's what they saw. That's what the Greeks and Romans saw. That's what even some of the Western cultures saw. However, if we decide to take a look at another culture, say all the way across the Atlantic Ocean, completely separate from the Greeks or the Romans or anything from France or England, and we decide to take a look at the Aztec culture. Well, the way they saw it, they also saw this specific constellation as well as a scorpion. In fact, they call it a Colota Ixiac, which in this case is just considered scorpion face. But even they would draw it in this similar fashion, where they had two pincers, this little head that goes through here, and this tail that goes right over here. Yeah, Ella, I'm describing how different cultures see the constellation of Scorpius. Yeah. But in this case, this is the Aztecs. So we're looking at places like near the Caribbean part of Mexico, where Cancun is. And so they saw this part of the sky as a scorpion as well. Even though they're across the Atlantic Ocean, completely not next to the Greeks or the Romans, they still saw this, as that little animal. All right. Okay, so that's how the Aztecs saw it. But if we decide to take a look at what the Mayans saw, well, they still saw a scorpion in this part of the sky, right? You can see like this little design right here, but they drew it completely differently, right? We don't see that curvy tail that used to be going right through here. In fact, what we see is this little jagged line and just two pincers. And so they might have drawn it differently, right? They might have drawn the lines completely differently, but they still saw a scorpion in this part of the sky. So, saying this right here, the snake. All right. Can everyone see that, how they changed from different places? All right. Good. All right. All right. Okay. All right. So the next part that we'll be looking at, we're going back to the western part of the sky. We take a look. And so this is Scorpius. All right. All right. Perfect. Okay. Good. All right. So are there any constellations that you recognize so far here in this part of the sky? Things that you might have heard of, different names, different things, different names of the constellations? Anything that you might recognize? Would you be able to tell what it is based on just the lines itself? Yeah, I see Jathan and Karina just shaking their heads like, what the heck is that? All right. Asher, if you were to look at, say, just this little shape right here, what would you think it is?
I would just think it's a triangle.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But see, like, to different cultures, that triangle could be something like a shield. It could be, maybe a face. It could even be like a little bowl or something, right? Something as simple as just these lines can mean something completely different, right? So if you had to give like some sort of imagination, it could be a triangle. What could it symbolize? What would you give it?
Shield.
All right. Any ideas? Any of your best guesses? Because your guess is as good as theirs. I'll tell you that.
A shield.
All right, yeah. In this case, it's literally a shield. Right, yeah. A scutum is like a part of what we consider like a turtle shell or the shield of a turtle. Right. And so going across all these cultures, they draw very, very simple like lines, but they have crazy stories to go along with all of them. All right. So if I remember correctly, I believe it was Caleb. Yeah. So Caleb, in this case, in this part of the sky, what do you think that this W actually meant? Because you drew it as the W that they saw, but what do you think that in this case, the Greeks or Romans thought this W meant? Any ideas, Caleb? All right. Perfect. Yeah.
Caleb, you might be muted, bud. You might need to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah. If anyone else has a different interpretation, right? We have this W in the sky. What do you think it could have represented? Mm-hmm. Do you think it could have been a person? It could have been a little river? What do you think this W could have been?
W for Wumbo.
Yeah, Brandon thinks
it's Athena, Wumbo. I see your hand raised. Go ahead and just speak up.
Yeah.
Stairs.
Stairs. All right. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, you're going up, just like slightly going up. All right. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. All right. So Spinosaurus. Oh, good.
Ooh, I see it.
Oh, wait, really? I'm taking a look. Okay, so maybe there's a little sail that goes on the back, and it's I guess I could see the dinosaur. Yeah. Does anyone? When I first saw this, I thought it was Jaws. Right. All right. Yeah. So in this case, what they saw, the Greeks and Romans saw, they saw it as a woman just taking a seat, and so this is what we consider the queen of the skies. And so her name's Cassiopeia, and she's part of this whole myth that goes along with Perseus and slaying Medusa. And so it's a very simple thing that you can see here in the northern sky. But if you decide to take a look at what the Hawaiians saw, so if we go to the Hawaiian, what they saw in this part of the sky, they didn't just see a woman, they saw a whole bird with its wings going across this W, this entire W. And so, that's what they saw in terms of like this W that shows up in the sky. And I think what's also interesting too is that if we take a look at where Scorpio was, so where the scorpion was, instead of a scorpion, this time they draw it as a giant fish hook. They still follow that whole this windy line that goes through here. All right. But that's not all, right? Other cultures saw this W as something completely different. So if we take a look at where the Inuit lived near the North Pole, closer towards the north, they didn't just see a woman or they didn't see a bird. What they saw were two objects. And so we can see how they drew it differently. It's still the W, but this time they add a line right through here. And so in this case, what they saw is a lampstand, where you hold, say, your candle. And then this other little dip right here, it's just a little basket. And so completely different ways of seeing the same W in the sky. All right. Yeah. So if you were able to see something like this, right? And I believe this is the first the first one. Did anyone draw something different for your first? For the first page? All right.
Well, I think Ella did the lizard, right?
Yeah, lizard. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Athena. Yeah. What did you draw? Yeah, you can unmute yourself.
I drew it's in a swimming pool.
Where is it? Oh,
it's
all right.
In a swimming pool. It's in a swimming pool.
What is? Oh, yeah. So what's in the swim? Is that Cassiopeia? Oh, okay. All
in
right.
the swimming pool.
Perfect. All right, good. Yeah, and I guess you could try and draw a swimming pool all the way around through here as well. All right, good. Yeah. Anyone else? Caleb, did you happen to draw something else, or did you just drew another W through there? All right. Okay, good. All right. So the last one I wanted to take a look at is the Milky Way, or not the Milky Way, the Big Dipper. And so if we take a look at the Big Dipper from what we see through here, it's part of this constellation that we call Ursa Major. everyone's seen this at least once in the northern sky, right? This huge big dipper that shows up. Now, if we take a look at what the Inuit saw, right? The northern people, right? We saw that they saw the Cassiopeia, that W, as two objects. If we take a look at what the Inuit saw, this time, this time they see it as a caribou, where instead of this right here being the head, this being the body. And so we can see different things of how they interpret, different, the same constellation as well. If we take a look at another Native American one, the Navajo, instead of seeing a caribou or a big dipper, what they see is this giant revolving, male, this dude that's literally revolving around the sky. And in fact, they also have the revolving female that goes through here. And so can anyone see where the Big Dipper is drawn on this revolving male from the Navajo? Okay, yeah, Asher, yeah.
So the Big Dipper is the top left corner star. That is the top of the handle.
Good, all right.
And then follow the other two bright stars.
Okay.
The handle,
Mhm.
and then down.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it, right, yeah. Yeah, but so like a lot of the times, right, if we take a look at what the Inuit saw versus this one, right, the Inuit see only this, right, that handle with the cup. But the Navajo, in this case, they see all these other stars and they start connecting all these other stars we usually wouldn't connect to make this little, stick figure that goes through here. All right. Okay, and then if we take a look at the Egyptians, what the ancient Egyptians saw through here, they still see the Big Dipper, but this time they don't call it a Big Dipper or a caribou or, a revolving male. This time they see it as a bull's foreleg. Okay, well, what? Why is this a leg? This is a leg somehow? Well, this right here is the bull. And right here is like a little mooring post. So you can think of it like a fence where you tie your dog, your sheep, or, your animal to this, little fence. And so what they did was they tied the bull's leg over to this little mooring post that shows up right over here, this little fence. And so the bull's trying to get away, but unfortunately he's tied to the fence. And so that's what the ancient Egyptians saw in this part of the sky. All right. Yeah, sometimes you got to get really creative on making these stories across the sky. And the last one is a completely different one, but it's from Belarus. So this is a country that's next to Russia. And they still see the Big Dipper, right? It's still drawn the same way as, as we've seen it before. But this time it's a little horse being pulling a cart. And so that's just the different way that they explained it. It's not a little cup or anything like that. It's just a little cart that's riding across the sky. All right, so that's the different cultures, but I'm wondering, did anyone happen to see any cultures that they wanted to see? Like the Maori people, what did you see in the sky? Taking a look at just the different lines that show across. Yeah, any other different cultures, any other constellations that they might want to see in the sky? See how other cultures view it? Okay, all right. In that case, we'll be continuing on. To our next host, Franco.
All right. Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and get started. As you guys know, my name is Franco Iglesias, and I have a real treat for you guys for today. We're going to take a look through the Milky Way Galaxy, and more importantly, the constellations that hide within it. So here, if hopefully everyone can go ahead and see it. If not, go ahead and let me know. Here we have where it all kind of began, the Milky Way Galaxy. Somewhere in this giant forest of stars lie our solar system, and more importantly, our sun and our planet. If you guys look very closely here, you guys can see that there are so many little dots here. Each one of those little dots is a star of its own. And next to those dots are other stars as well. Who here thinks there are hundreds of stars? Who here thinks there are thousands of stars? Millions? Perhaps even billions? Is anyone brave enough to say billions of stars?
I am. I say billions.
You say billions? Well, I'll agree with you because there are so many stars in a galaxy. Yes, sometimes even galaxies can have up to trillions of stars. That's a lot of zeros. We're going to be focusing on a little spot right over here. If you guys can see me moving my mouse around it, that little blob right there is where our solar system, the sun, the Earth, Mars, Venus, all of our planets, that's where we're located. We're located in a section called Orion's Arm. You see how this galaxy specifically has arms that come out the center. This center spot right here, that's called the Galactic Bulge. And it's called that because if we go edge on, which means if you take a side view of the galaxy, you'll notice that even though it's almost as flat as a disk, this area in the center protrudes outwards. And that's what we call it a galactic bulge. And all of that is because of the super dense amount of stars that are there. And that means that there are a lot of stars in a single given place. Lots of them are towards the center there. And you'll see what that looks like when we zoom in more. But first, let's go ahead and take our first trip through the constellations that we are nearby. So I'm going to zoom all the way in, and you guys are looking at all these different little stars, all these pretty little lights. What we're interested in right now is zooming in to our favorite one, which should be the sun. At least it should be your favorite star. It's the only one we can get to. And I'm going to focus it right here where you guys can see all of those other stars that I mentioned in the galactic bulge. All of those stars are really close by to each other, and that's why you have a huge amount of them. And right in the center of the galactic bulge, right in the center of the galaxy, is a supermassive black hole. We can maybe talk about that a little more, but today we're focused on constellations. So let me redirect your attention to the night sky. This is what you guys would see on Earth, right? I know you guys don't see the planets here. I don't have a big enough computer to go ahead and run such a huge simulation, but imagine the planets being around here. Right now, we really just care about the sun and what we can see in the night sky. So at the moment, does anyone recognize anything? It's kind of hard if you guys are just doing it based off little dots. So we're going to turn on a couple of labels. We're going to turn on the star labels first. Now we can see all of the stars that we have named before. Not every single one star is, of course, named. There are so many, we wouldn't be able to go through every single one of them. But a lot of the popular stars, a lot of the ones that navigators or astronomers have used in the past are here. For example, we see Beetlejuice, a giant, super red giant. I said giant twice because that's how big it is. It's very famous in the night sky. We can also look around and see if we can find another very famous star. Let's see if we can just surf around here a little bit. See if you guys find any star that you guys know. Just yell it out. No need to keep it to yourself.
Anything? Oh, I saw Altair earlier. So
okay.
Yeah, that was part of the summer triangle, right?
That's true. That is part of the summer triangle. I'm also going to go ahead and look over here and look right there, that Alpha Centauri star. Next to that star is Proxima Centauri. And that's the closest star to our solar system, around, I think, 2 to 4 light years away from us. Orion, you had a question, buddy?
Did you know that actually Beetlejuice is actually in the constellation name that I got named after?
It's in the Orion constellation. That is very true. You know what? Just for that, we're going to go ahead and switch right over to Beetlejuice, because I have a pretty cool thing that I can do for you then. Let's go ahead and find it real quick. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Perfect. So Beetlejuice, while just a star, you're right, is in a constellation called Orion, and we can turn on the constellation. That was the next step. Let's go ahead and turn it on, and boom, we have our constellations lines, and we can see that you're right. Beetlejuice right there is centered in the Orion constellation. And here is, I think, one of the prettiest parts of the simulation is you can see all of these different lines all circling around. You can see, for example, earlier we talked about, I believe we talked about Centaurus. If not, I might be confused. There's Lupus there. If we stay along the middle, we can even see Cygnus. That's one of the, well, maybe I shouldn't give it away, but that was one of the constellations that you guys may have. I know some of you guys are already looking at this and thinking, hey, I think I drew that on my paper. Because yeah, a lot of people see the same thing here. And if we go all the way around, we can even see Cassiopeia here. Now, this is fun. This is all nice and dandy, but who here thinks that all of this is fake? And by that I mean, are the stars really that close to each other? I mean, because look at, for example, let's go back to, let's say, Perseus, right? Perseus right here. We see Perseus with all these stars next to each other, but are they really that close to each other? If you guys are on YouTube, go ahead and answer yes or no if you guys think they really are close to each other. While you guys are answering, I'm going to show you guys the answer. So I'm going to slowly, because if I do it too fast, my system's going to turn on fire. I'm going to slowly back out and tell me if you guys see the constellation kind of wiggle a little bit or shift. Tell me if you guys see a little bit of wiggling going on as I keep zooming out. You guys should start seeing a little bit right there, right? A little bit of wonkiness. You see how that little star right there, Agile, is moving? Let's see if it happens to other ones as well. Let's try to find a previous constellation that we were talking about, Scorpius. So here, I know it's the Milky Way, it's so bright. That's typically why we don't look directly into the Milky Way. But right here, we have Scorpius. And if we zoom out, you guys can see that, oh, it's shifting. Something is going on. So let's go ahead and zoom in to one of the stars in Scorpius. Boom, we did a full zoom. And now you guys see that these lines, they're not as close as we thought they were. Instead, these lines are light years apart. And here is the spaghetti of a mess that you guys can see now. Hopefully, it's not too disorienting to look at. But all of the lines that we saw from our perspective on Earth, they don't connect. This star that we zoomed into, Antares, is nowhere near the star that it's right next to in the constellation of Scorpius. Look how far that is. Nothing to do with each other. And that's the point of these constellations, is that humans, when they looked up into the sky, we saw the sky for what it was. We drew the lines based on our stories, our environment, whatever they lived through, and we said it as so. But the universe isn't too nice to us that way. In fact, these stars have nothing to do with each other and are completely separate. No story at all. But it's still nice to go ahead and think of them as all in some nice little group that we can call a constellation. All right, before we go ahead and end up, there are two more things that I want to go ahead and quickly run to. I did not mean to zoom into this beautiful red star. Let's go ahead and go over to the sun, which is located right here. And I want you guys all to look at the middle right over here, because I'm going to turn on the Zodiac Signs. Some of you guys might know what that is. Some of you guys may not know what that is. But if I'm centered really weird. There we go. Let's flip our entire perspective upside down. So if you guys know your Zodiac symbol, either on YouTube or in the chat here, go ahead and put it out because we'll be looking at some of them. So over here, you guys can see that the Zodiac signs for where you were born. I'm sorry, what part? Sorry, let me phrase this correctly. Where the sun was when you were born depends on what Zodiac sign you guys are called. So for example, if the sun was covering Scorpius, we would say, you were born in the constellation Scorpius. However, you would actually never see it during the day, during that day, because the sun would cover it. So unfortunately, even though you're born in it, you don't get to see the constellation. But we have other ones too, like Capricornus, which is, I believe, mine. I was born in January, and I think around January is when the sun goes over the Capricornus constellation. We have Aquarius, Pisces, for all you fish out there, and Gemini, Cancer, all of them are here, and they all form one ring around the sun. Just to leave you guys off with that little fact, it's called the ecliptic. Very interesting. So to finish off, the last thing I want to show you guys, because I don't want to go over time, is what all of this looks like to scale. I'm going to zoom out super fast and hope that my computer doesn't break immediately, and it doesn't. Perfect. Remember that Milky Way Galaxy? Well, she kind of has a sister. Andromeda, all the way afar, hundreds of thousands of light years apart, is Andromeda. We can go all the way over to it and see how similar to our galaxy, also spirally, also has arms, and also has billions and trillions of other little stars that we haven't even began to discover. We, if we go back to where we were in the Milky Way Galaxy, have only discovered such a few amount of stars. I mean, look at them. All the ones that we have named are right in this little bunch. And we can even show you guys what they all look like side by side. So as you guys can see here, Andromeda is much bigger than the Milky Way Galaxy. And the Milky Way Galaxy is so much more bigger than any of those little individual stars that we talked about today. Any of them. I can zoom into them and look at them. They don't even compare to how big the galaxies are. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this really cool tour of what this is called Universe Sandbox. If you guys are interested in actually acquiring this simulation, you can. For all you gamers out there, it's on Steam. So just go ahead and look it up. It's a great educational tool to go ahead and use. It's my favorite game. And I'll go ahead and pass it along to Jinon now. Hope you guys enjoyed.
Thanks very much, Franco. So can you stop sharing?
Of course I can. I think that would help. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks a lot. Yeah, and for all the software that we have used today, including Stellarium that me and Evan used, and the Universe Sandbox Franco just used, I will be sending a link to your parents. So if you want to actually download them and use them later, you definitely could. So for the remaining maybe several minutes, we're just going to open up the floor for any questions. You know, it doesn't even have to be related to constellations. Anything you want to ask about astronomy, you know, whether you're on YouTube or you're on Zoom, feel free to either just unmute yourself, raise hand, or type in the chat. And I know Orion has a question.
I don't. I just forgot to turn off the raise hand thing.
No worries.
Right.
Well, if you come
No
up with one,
worries.
feel free to ask it. Anyone else have questions? I think
Asher,
Ella has one.
Asher had a question. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's go with Asher first then.
Mine wasn't really a question. I just wanted to say that you might not know this, but the sun is actually just a medium-sized star.
That is very
Stars are
true.
huge.
Yeah. In fact,
The sun is just like closer to us.
you're absolutely right. And you know what? Since we have a little bit of time to go ahead and talk about some of the questions that you guys have, I can even open up how big some stars actually look like. So I can jump over to here, share my screen, and look. You're absolutely right. Our sun would be more around the middle side over here, while some stars can get super, super big, like these massive big stars. So yeah, our sun, kind of small.
Yeah, that's a really great point, Asher. So some of the stars, even when they were born or when they were in their adulthood, they could be, you know, hundreds or even thousands the size of the sun. So, you know, our sun is just like special to us because it's the closest star to us. But in the universe, it's really just an ordinary star. Mm-hmm. That's a great point. Ella? Did you want to share us?
Yeah, if I could share them.
Yeah, go ahead.
And she did number page 4. All right.
Yeah, so that's the super complicated
actually,
one.
I did all of them.
All right, perfect.
You have to give the story too, though. As soon as you give the name, give us the whole story, the whole background.
Yeah, okay, the whole story. I didn't give the whole story on Lizard. Lizard was a small lizard that was cursed by one of the things that Orion fought and became a giant fire-breathing salamander thing that was defeated by Orion. And this one.
And that one. What is it? You gotta let us know what it is.
This one is named Blorpendorp. Blorpendorp was a glob of slime that Zeus accidentally brought to life. It was a menace to society, so it was imprisoned in the sky. This was a menace to society.
Wow.
You would be really good at Greek culture. That's almost half the story.
And this one is the butterfly.
Oh my gosh.
So the butterfly started a lot, so it was banished from space.
I think I like the second one better. That's all nice.
And the fourth is
Oh.
slightly sassy woman with a sword.
Oh, you really were creative on that one, weren't you?
So I don't have the slightest idea why she's in space.
Wow,
awesome.
great work, Ella.
All right.
And we actually have a question, which I believe Brendan sort of already answered on YouTube. So the question was from Neha, asking, are zodiac signs the same as constellation? So that is a very good question. Well, there are, okay, so zodiac signs, they are the 12 zodiac constellations, right? As Franco just introduced. But in the, well, those are only the constellations that's on the ecliptic. But there are also so many constellations that the sun will never be at or like passing by. So for example, in the Western constellation system, there are 88 constellations and only 12 of them are zodiac, constellations or signs. So, they're like a subset of all the constellations that we typically talk about. So hope that answers your question. And any other questions we have? Anything. We don't even have to talk about constellations.
Get them in now before we leave.
Yeah, I know people typically want to talk about, black holes or aliens. So if you guys also are curious about that, we're here trying our best to answer. And you can directly unmute yourself if you want to.
Orion has a question. Yeah, go ahead and unmute yourself, buddy.
Oh, how do black holes even form?
What a great question. Evan, do you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, so that is a great question. If you remember some of the stars Franco just showed you, right? Some of those are extremely large, hundreds or thousands of times bigger than the sun. So those are the type of stars that will eventually, have a chance to collapse into a black hole. So our sun, because it's not really massive, it's not heavy enough. So eventually it will only, become a ordinary dead star that is a white dwarf. So it's like a very dense and hot core, that's relatively the size of the Earth. But for black holes, typically they form from stars that are at least 25 times heavier than the sun. So when they die, they actually go through a very violent explosion that we call the supernova explosion. And the black hole is the leftover core. It's a very, very dense core of the star once it ejects all the outer layer of itself. So that's how black holes form according to our current understanding, but we still don't know a lot about black holes right now, just because we can not really get light or any information from it directly. So Vivian.
Could we live on a planet in Andromeda?
Wow, what a good question.
I can, take a crack on it. Okay. Well, I guess so far, astronomers have only considered whether we can live on planets that are not in the solar system, right? But we're still talking about in the Milky Way and probably very close to the solar system. But Vivian, your question is like beyond that and also very relevant. So I would say, it's possible, right? It's probably not possible for us to like travel there within our own lifespan. But if we're only talking about whether some of the planets are, habitable or like friendly for humans or other lives to live on, I would say probably. But it also depends on what kind of lives we're talking about, because very simple life forms like microbes, they don't even need, say, like water or air or oxygen to survive, right? So they can even live through very harsh environments. But for very intelligent lives like us, we're actually being pretty picky. So we cannot be very adaptable to a lot of environments. So I would say, given how many planets they are in Andromeda or in the Milky Way, it's very possible that there are other habitable planets, but we just don't know yet. That's a great question.
That was a very good question.
Any other ones you guys have? And also any questions we have from YouTube? Okay, well, so if not, I guess we will end today's session here. Well, thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. I hope you had a great time. And if you have any questions, always feel free to ask your parents to email me, even if you have like further questions, including those on YouTube. You all have my email address. So let's thank our instructors again, Evan, Franco, and Brendan. Great job.
Everybody.
Thank you for coming. Thanks for the questions. So
Yeah, those are great questions. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for being here.
Yeah, have a good evening. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. Okay, Evan, Frank.